After all the soldiers fell asleep, Julia quietly lay down among them. To hide her identity, she always slept last and woke up first. The strangest part was that after bathing, some soldiers walked around without shirts and some even without pants. To avoid these situations, Julia always volunteered to stand guard during bath time. But because she couldn't bathe herself, the smell of powder started coming from her body, and the other soldiers began to suspect her. One night, when everyone was asleep, Julia silently went to the river. Just as she took off her clothes and stepped into the water, a new soldier suddenly appeared from behind. Julia quickly covered herself. By sheer luck, he didn't see anything, and Julia was saved. The next day was training, climbing a mountain with buckets full of water. The path was tough, but Julia kept moving forward alone. She even carried the water bucket all the way to the top of the mountain by herself, while the others could only watch. Reaching the peak, Julia looked at the beautiful view. A few days later, the enemy army attacked again. Julia's unit was sent to the front line. That same night, Julia went to the general to reveal her true identity. But the general said, "I trust you completely. In fact, I want my daughter to marry you." Julia couldn't say a word. The next day, as soon as the general gave the order to attack, everyone fired their arrows together, and the enemy's front line collapsed. When the enemies started running, the general sent Julia with the army to chase them, but it was a trap. As soon as they gave chase, the enemies turned back and attacked. Many soldiers were injured. Some ran away in fear, but Julia stood her ground alone and kept fighting. She reached a deserted valley. Suddenly, a hawk attacked and knocked Julia off her horse. That hawk transformed into a woman. Julia instantly drew her sword and struck, but the witch was far more powerful. In anger, she stabbed Julia in the chest. Julia tore off the bandages from her body, pulled the sword out, and mounted her horse again. At that very moment, a phoenix flew across the sky. Julia picked up her sword from the ground, removed her armor, let her hair loose, and charged into the battlefield on her horse. The enemies threw weapons at her, but Julia stopped them mid-air. With every strike, an enemy fell. Now, no one could stop her. Then the enemies brought out cannons and began firing balls of fire. Seeing her comrades die, Julia quickly circled behind the enemy and fired an arrow. She placed a helmet on a rock so the enemies would think someone was hiding there. Frightened, they fired in that direction. The cannonballs reached the snow-covered mountains and triggered an avalanche. Julia survived, but the enemies were buried under the snow and completely wiped out.